if you may recall, if you were involved in a MOS proposal, that proposals were submitted with placeholder MOS configurations. And these are not final configurations, but they were important during the proposal process because they were needed to quantify multiplexing so that you can understand scientifically what you can get out of your observations. So you can present that to the TAC, and also to properly account for observations. But these are not final configurations. And the reason is that because of scheduling efficiency, STSCI needs to reserve the option to assign angles to MOS programs. So that has not yet been done because angles assigned to scheduling windows, and so the schedule has not yet been made. So once the schedule is made, MOS observers will be assigned angles, and then you'll be able to start working on final MOS configurations, but you won't be able to do the final configurations that are precisely final because the astrometric field solution will need to be derived during commissioning. So once that field is communicated to you with an updated APT and the angles have been provided, the teams will be able to make final flight-ready MOS configurations that commanding NIRSpec to open and close various shutters. So then the process will be to resubmit the proposal using MPT and APT, which if you have submitted a proposal already, you are aware of how that process works. So a good starting place on this, although this documentation, is the MOS roadmap in JDocs. This links out to various documentation in JDocs that explain the process and the deadlines for submitting updates and requirements on astrometric reference stars for aligning the configurations to your field. So I want to reiterate that JDocs is really your comprehensive stop for finding out information about how to do these flight ready updates. So how is this going to work from a timeline perspective? So you can see that we on this timeline that goes from the proposal deadline up until your observations, we are now in the period between the TAC and launch on the left, the blue stars. Commissioning will start after launch, and at some point during commissioning, we believe that the long-range plan that tells you when your observations will be scheduled is going to be stable and aperture position angles will be assigned. Then the cycle will start, and for most programs where we say nominal MOS program update towards the right in red, the final MOS configurations, the program updates will be due 6 weeks before the MOS spectroscopy observation window will start. And that is needed for instrument scientists and program coordinators to verify the programs and get their short-term scheduling done and get the observations ready. Now, in the very beginning of this cycle, we are concerned about making sure that we have time to iterate with you and make sure that we are getting these configurations the way that we really want them. We want the science to be as good as possible. So we need those to see these program updates a little more quickly in the beginning of the cycle. So we have set a 3-week deadline for programs that are scheduled in the first 3 months after we release the final astrometric solution and a new APT. Observers in those first 3 months will have 3 weeks to provide program updates, and then we will be able to, of course, work with you if there are any problems, or we'll be checking them out. So it's just to make sure that we have that flexibility. Of course, there are also some things to pay attention to. If you have NIRCam pre-imaging with your proposal, then you need to make sure that you have specified in the proposal that the NIRCam images will be done before the NIRSpec observations, and that places some further timing constraints on this timeline. And this diagram is also available in the JDocs, and there is a written down explanation of everything that I have said there. So that is available for you. So just lastly, I wanted to go over preparing your final flight ready configurations in MPT. This is something that if you have prepared placeholder configurations for submitting a proposal, you will be aware of how the MPT works. The way that the angle will be provided to you I believe there will be some communications probably through email, but we also, the APT files, when you retrieve them from STSCI, they will have an angle assignment built in. And so you will be instructed what to use. And MPT will be run the same way that you did for the proposal. So you will set up all of these fields in the red boxes on MPT, or and using your assigned aperture PA. The one major difference is that your catalog that you use must now include MSATA reference stars, unless you're not using MSATA, but we don't nominally recommend that. Once you put the reference stars in, and if they're in the catalog correctly, if you go over to the hierarchical editor in APT and click on the visit level, there will be a pull-down menu that will allow you to select a set of reference stars that work for your configuration and filter and readout. So all I just wanted to point out is that, of course, there's always MPT documentation if you need a refresher. There are MPT video tutorials if you prefer to watch instructions instead of reading them. And finally, there are strategies for selecting reference stars are also written down in the JDocs in case you, since that's something that you haven't previously done. So that is all I have to say about doing your final flight ready updates.